tonight is going to be a really great night. We have an awesome lineup for you of Lindsay Menzer from the labs. I'll introduce her in just a few minutes. We also have Adrienne Dara, who is joining us. If you don't know her, I mean, you should know her, but if you don't know her, she is a colorist extraordinaire. I've gotten the opportunity to really get to know her this year, and I'm super excited that she is here with us. We have Marcus Johnson, who is literally so talented, so incredibly energetic, and so much the face of our brand out there in the field. And together, we're going to try and bring you as much information as we can on this awesome line called Color Gels Oils. I'm going to go ahead and ask if we can pop up that slide. There we go. Now, here's what's awesome. Better no music, right? You can hear me now, JC. Thank you. So if you are here and you are looking for your CE hours, then you have come to the right place, because you absolutely can get your CE units for this event. So you can see here on this slide that if you have any questions, please email us at ce@support.l'orealusa.com. You must be present for the entire class. Just know that your attendance time is recorded. CE will be issued to all attendees in qualifying states that have qualifying attendance. This is determined by the registration information that you have submitted. And again, please note that all states will allow for CE hours for this event. CE means, JC, this is continuing education units, and there are some countries, there are some states where it is required that you do a certain number of hours per year or every other year in getting your continuing education units, but they are very strict with what that looks like. And we want to make sure that as much as we can bring to you education that gets you the CE hours, then that we have that there. So today we are talking about color gels oils. So what I'd love to know is, can you just pop in the chat how long you have been using Redken hair color? If I could just see a few answers come up in that chat, I would love to understand that. Whoa, 5 years, 10 years, 21 years, 30 years. Oh, yes, 7 years, 20 years, 4 years, 2 years, since, oh, there was a since something. Let's see. I think it was since February. Since February, welcome. 28 years, 5 years, 17 years, 28 years, 6 months. And we've got somebody who hasn't used it at all. Somebody who's also joining us from January. Well, whether you are new to Redken hair color, bring back the Vegas symposium. I'm just going to tell you now, because the person who asked me, did you come to symposium? I'd love to know. But we are going to be launching symposium. I might as well just tell you, June 23rd and 24th of next year, we will have Redken Symposium on tour again, but it's going to be in Nashville this time. So I heard Nashville's called Nash Vegas. So hopefully you'll be excited about Nashville and you'll make that happen. But I see a lot of people, I mean, we have everybody here that's everything from new to somebody that's been using Redken hair color for 30 years or more. And so a little bit about me, if you don't know me, my name is Sherry Doss. I am the VP of Brand Education. I also work on the shows and events. So thank you for asking the question about symposium, because that makes, and thank you for being excited about Nashville, because that makes me excited as well, that you are excited. But I didn't want to stay in this industry. My mother owned salons. And I thought to myself, that is the worst place to be. But she was a salon owner 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And she worked so hard, right? Like just nonstop. And I thought to myself, okay, this doesn't seem like this is for me. But then I needed to put myself through college, and I was going to need to do something. So I went to beauty school, and I was going to beauty school, and then I was going to college at night to be a high school math and English teacher. And then I met Redken. And what was so cool is that it felt like I was coming home. It felt like the things that I stood for, which were, I was going to be a teacher. So it was about helping others to learn something so that their lives could be better, that is what Redken believed in. And so I aligned myself with Redken as an educator, or first as an artist. And then I loved doing that so much because what I realized is that I could help people like my mother to be more successful and not have to work the way that she was working. And at the time we had this saying, which was earn a better living, live a better life. And so now, of course, we have, learn better, earn better, and live better. But because I understood that, wait, I can help people like my mom have a better life. I quit going to college. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel it was the perfect decision for me because what it meant is that I could continue along this path. And here I am 30 years later. And I'm here because number one, we stand for science at Redken. That's right. Paula Kent, who was the founder of our brand, she was absolutely enamored and obsessed with hairdressers and helping them to understand hair and then giving products that help to actually work on the interior structure as well as the pH of the hair. And to this day, we still are obsessed with that, which is why we have Lindsay Menzer with us, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. In addition to that, I believe that we at Redken stand for you, the hairdresser. And the minute we don't, the minute it comes, down to a P&L and I'm asked to do something that I don't believe is going to help you, will be the minute, as I like to say, I start selling tacos and mango margaritas in Costa Rica. Now, I don't only like to say that. My mom lives in Costa Rica. I own property there, and it will be one day what I am doing. But if I end up there very quickly, then you might know what's going on. But you want to know what I know is that that's not going to happen because me and the team of people that work on Redken, Marcus being one of them, who's been with us for a long time, Adrienne, who's kind of new, but she still is as obsessed with this as we are, is that we will fight to make sure that you have everything that you need in order to be successful. Like it will, I will literally, I will die on the sword, as they say, making that happen. I see Katya said hi from Costa Rica. Are you in Costa Rica now? That would be amazing. I flew in on an overnight flight this morning. So I'm not going to take up too much time, but what I want you to know is that I really, really, really do believe that we as a brand are here for you. And that's why I'm still here after 30 years. Yes, Leslie, we can get on with education. So where are we going to start? We're actually going to start with this woman who I recently met live. I have a very much have had some back and forth with her, understanding, what she works on. But this woman is absolutely amazing. Her name is Lindsay Menzer. She comes from our labs. There she is right there. Hi, Lindsay. All right. She comes from our labs. And as I said earlier, I'm obsessed with you because, of course, I want to be a scientist. But she has 15 years in L'Oreal. And what's great is that she's worked in various places. So she worked in the USA. She's also worked in Paris. She's worked on styling, but now she works on hair color. And she is part of the, brand and innovation. So she's part of trying to find out what are the best innovations that we have out there in order to bring products to you to help you work smarter behind the chair. And I love that. So welcome, Lindsay. Thank you for being here with us.
Hi, Sherry. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we start with Lindsay because, of course, she's going to help us understand what is in this bottle. And we've got, bottles here. We've got a bottle on the screen for you all. We have some people, as you saw, Lindsay, who are joining us who have never used Color Gels oils, some who love it, and some who are really struggling. We saw a lot of people sort of struggling with this gray hair. So let's just start there. What can you tell us about, what is gray hair?
Yeah, so gray hair is hair that's missing the melanin inside. And what we know about gray hair is that although it feels stiff and sometimes difficult to manage, we saw, I think in the chat, something about resistant grays. So we know that that's there, but we also know that it's really important to take care of gray hair. So without the melanin, we know that the sun actually can damage the hair because the melanin is something that protects it. So although it seems stiff and wiry and maybe stronger than hair that has melanin, it actually, in fact, is fragile.
Isn't that interesting? So, you said this the last time we were together, and I thought to myself, that's so fascinating because I myself always felt like, no, hair it is too strong and it is resistant, but it is fragile. And why is it important for us to know that? Okay, I think we've got a little bit of a freeze here for Lindsay. No problem. She's going to come back to us as soon as she can. But there we go. Thank you so much. Like, how many of you feel like, you know, after all this time online, haven't we gotten this together yet? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to jump through to some questions that maybe she
Hi, Sherry. I'm here.
just can't see you. Okay. Well, we're going to miss your beautiful hair, but in the meantime, why is it important for us to know that gray hair is fragile?
Yeah, so we definitely want to know that because we want to be able to take care of not just changing the color, but also the texture of the hair. And
Mhm.
so what's really important there is understanding, especially with color gels oils. If you can see on the poster behind you, we talk about rejuvenating them. So with color gels oils, we're actually going to help not only with the color, but also with the feel of the hair.
Okay. So when you say that we're going to help with the feel of the hair, because people's perception, which I saw in here, is that it is strong or resistant. How does the technology help with the feel of the hair?
Yeah, so the technology helps with the shine and the condition. So what we've done here is we've created a formula that actually increases the shine 78% versus non-colored hair, and it increases the conditioning and the smoothness 30% versus a non-conditioning shampoo. And now part of that is the apricot oil that's inside it, hence the color gels oil. And that addition of apricot really helps with the smoothness of the hair.
Ooh, I love that. Denise said she just got an email to join, and sorry, no worries, Denise. We're glad to have you here. Alyssa says that she loves the shine and the softness on gray hair, and I love that. So thank you so much. And knowing why it's there. So what's interesting is out in the field, whenever I have spoken to some people about color gels oils, I think that the perception is that it is like an oil delivery system. But can you explain the difference between this and meaning color gels oils and a traditional oil delivery system?
Absolutely. So a traditional oil delivery system is actually up to 60% mineral oil in the mix. So the mix of the colorant and the developer. Whereas
Mm.
Color Gels Oils is a traditional water-based liquid color, and the oil is the 2% apricot oil that we talked about.
Oh, okay, great. I just want to, would you mind repeating? I was just going to go back because I
The
did
shine,
a question here. The percentage of shine and condition.
yeah, so it was an increase of 78% of shine versus non-colored hair, and an increase in 30% on the conditioning versus a non-conditioning shampoo.
Amazing. So if this isn't a traditional, oil delivery, one of the things that people love about oil delivery systems is that it has no ammonia. Does Color Gels oils have ammonia?
No, it does not. It is also an MEA-based system.
Okay. And for those that are, joining and maybe, we hear that word, I think a lot of us heard it in beauty school. And I think it stands for monoethanolamine. If
Very
I'm
good.
Thank you. I pass again. What what is the difference between an MEA and ammonia?
Yeah, so they're both alkaline agents. They're both going to help swell the hair cuticle due to the alkaline pH. They're also going to work to help degrade the melanin so that you can color the hair. And they are also going to give a little bit of oxygen with your developer's oxygen to help the dyes create the color that you want. But so they both act in very similar ways.
Okay, I'm gonna divert for a second from I because you just said something that you taught me something that I have repeated. I don't plagiarize though. I say I learned it from you. So so and you said that the MEA helps the dyes to develop. And so can you tell everybody who is watching right now how do dyes develop? Because there was some chat when we were, sort of getting started, listening to some music, and people were saying like it's scary to watch it, as it's developing. So, but you have a great story about dyes and a party.
Yeah. Yeah. So dyes are, if you think about the processing time, and this can be for color gels, oils, it can be for shades EQ, which I know we have a lot of people who are hesitant to process it for the full 20 minutes. But the dyes are kind of like people going to a party. There's always the early birds. That would be me. And then there's the people who show up on time, and there's the people who show up fashionably late. Dyes are the exact same way. So they react at different speeds, and you end up getting different colors at different points during the processing time. So let's say that you're talking about like an O9V. In fact, that may be blue in the beginning, and then it may become purple at the end, like in a shades EQ. And then, so we want to make sure that we are keeping it processing for the full time to get all the goodness out of it. Sorry, my microphone is just going to come off here. To get all the goodness out of it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something that we didn't intend for you to have. And so that's why it's really important for us to continue processing. And sometimes it seems very dark on the head, darker than you want, but that's just in the formula. And then once you rinse it off, you'll have the color that you're looking for.
Amazing. So there's this is the question. This is like what they call the elephant in the room, right? We have people on here, big fans of chromatics, and they wonder how the color gels oils compares.
So are you asking in terms of the shades? Just to make sure.
Yeah, people are sad that chromatics is leaving. I get it. Like I get it. Yes, but this is the newest, latest innovation, you would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the newest innovation. I think that the liquid aspect of this allows for some very easy ways to process it. And I believe you'll see that with your next guest. And the colors were created to be, that 100% gray coverage. They are a more opaque coverage, which is great for really making sure you get to that point. And you're also able to get the gray coverage on red shades and copper shades, which is really huge because usually those don't have it.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few questions in here that I just want to try and answer very quickly. And that is about the difference between, or why would we use color gels oils to replace chromatics versus color fusion? So for those of you that, I'll just explain it, in general. So color fusion, when we launched color fusion way long time ago, we did it based on what we call an American color system, right? And so what does that mean? Well, the taste of color here in America was different, and still is in some cases, than that of Europe. Very much more multidimensional, with some highs and some lows. And so when you look at the gray coverage of color fusion, what happens is that, let's say, for example, you have a level 5 head of hair with 50% gray. And Lindsay, feel free to jump in anytime. And you use a level 6 on there, right, for gray coverage. The 5 will come up to a 6 because let's say you're using 20 volume developer, right? But the gray hair is going to have a little, it's not going to cover a 6 as well. So it's going to leave those highs and those lows, and it's going to look like you have more highlights, right? Color Gels Oils, however, was formulated specifically for gray hair, and specifically using our in shades. Some of the comments that we see is that exactly, Melody, that there's more brown, right? So some people are saying out, when we're talking to them, or I was just recently in San Antonio at a show, that they're saying it's much darker. But what we've realized is that they're using an in on somebody with less gray hair. And so because it's meant to be more of a shiny, opaque color, all on the same monochromatic, all on the same level, you are going to see it. The visual is going to be much darker. Do you have anything to add about that, Lindsay?
No, I think that that's really important for everybody to understand. And we did just launch or are launching the ends. So there's going to be those as well to be able to take, possibly try those if you're finding the ends to be too dark, to have too much coverage. But definitely, I think the point you made is if it's a lower level of gray, you definitely don't want to be using necessarily the ends or as dark, because you are going to feel like, compared to what it was before, it might seem dark.
Yeah. And I think we just answered Erica's question, which is, should we use a level lighter than desired? I think I would start with not using an I have about, I don't even know, like 2% gray. And I use 4 NCH, which I love. And then this last time I decided I'm going to throw a couple ins in there, and a little bit of in my formula. And it did feel darker, even though it was also at a level 4. So just keep that in mind. It's always about what we are putting them on. So Leslie, I think we've got people who find it super dark. So I think that hopefully we answered some of that. Alyssa says that the green had her client freaking out until it was done. And that's those dyes at a party. I called them extroverts and introverts. So I did plagiarize just a little bit. I'm sorry. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead. There's a few of these clients. There's a few of these questions that are going to be answered by our next guest, which is Adrienne. And I do want to give her some time because she's got a lot to say. She has had that experience behind the chair. But what I can say is, Lindsay, your information is invaluable. This is coming from somebody who is working on the science behind all of this. And for you to be sharing your evening on a Monday night after working so hard, I know I'm really appreciative, as are the people who have joined us here. I'm sure they'll have a million more questions. For anyone joining and you have more questions specifically for Lindsay, go ahead and pop them in my DM on Instagram, and I'll make sure Lindsay gets them and we'll get back to you. At least then I can kind of keep track of them and control them. So Lindsay, you are absolutely amazing. Here we've got one other question though, which I think we will cover with Adrienne, which is kind of related to the color mantra. I know you believe in the color mantras too, so we'll make sure one of our artists address that. But again, thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest.
Okay, so without any further ado, because I want to make sure that you're getting the education that you came here for on a Monday night. Again, thank you for sharing your time with us. I am going to welcome somebody who I've had the pleasure of really getting to know this year. She came to us because she was obsessed with Shades EQ. And from that obsession, she has really, grown her usage of our various color lines, which means she also took on a new color line, which is Color Gels Oils. Leslie, I do not disagree. It's the most difficult part of changing, which is the formulas, right? I'll tell you something that I used to do. I think I just want to make sure that Adrienne is ready on this end. One of the things, especially that I used to do. I only have like 6 clients now, so it's not so much anymore. But one of the things that I used to do was to try different color lines every time my clients came. I know that sounds a little bit scary, but it allowed me to sort of play around, to be able to, to be able to do that.
What's up, everybody? Woo! I'm so excited.
Adrienne, so excited too. Everyone, Adrienne and I have decided we've got a couple classes coming up and we've got fun names for them. So you have to join us just because it'll be fun if nothing else. But Adrienne, why don't you share with everybody a little bit about yourself? Because we have some people maybe who aren't as familiar with you, like where you're from, what kind of stylist, salon owner, etc.
So I am a Redken brand ambassador, and I'm just so honored to be a part of the brand. I am a working stylist behind the chair. I do hair between 3 to 4 days a week. And for me, the main types of color that I'm doing are these dimensional color services, whether it be gray coverage with dimension or gray blending, or the lucky ones that don't have any gray at all. That's always the best for them. But just like Sherry said, I went through this transition period as well with this line. And I'm excited tonight to share with you guys the benefits that I have found from using it. So I was scared as well. It's scary trying something new, as we know, but you definitely will reap the benefits if you start to dive into it.
Excellent. I do see a hand raised. I'm just going to ask if everyone can just go ahead and pop your questions in the chat. I'm going to remove that so I can actually see Adrienne. Adrienne, I know you want to share with everybody what you love about color gels, oils. I would also love to understand, and for you to share, like, what were your hurdles for you and your clients? I think it's important that we are super transparent and help people, to get over their fears as well. Why to use clear, some of the things in here. They want to talk about using, the Redken color mantra with shades EQ on the ends, or do they just pull color gels, oils all the way through? So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to kind of be applied on damp hair. I'm going to turn this over to you because I know you have and I just want to say thank you again, because having this year, getting to know you and getting to know your passion about hair color has been truly one of the highlights of my year. And I'm so grateful that you are spending tonight with us. So I'm turning it over.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now we're having like a sappy moment. I'm like, my heart, thank you so much. So, all right, let's dive in because I want to maximize your time. I want to take you guys through everything that has helped me to feel more confident. So let's start with the core principles of colored gel oils. I think sometimes it can feel intimidating when we look at a color chart. It can kind of feel like, okay, what does all of this stuff mean? So I want to try to simplify your thinking, and please continue to ask your questions in the chat. We want to field as many of these as possible so that you leave tonight feeling ready to take this on. So the first thing to know is that there is a background family in color gel oils. It's interesting because a question I get a lot in the DMs is, how does this differ from that of color gel lacquers? Well, one of the main reasons that it differs is the background family. In color gel lacquers, there's 3 different background families. We have black to gray, we have brown to tan, and no background. But one of the things that actually they were talking about earlier is the incredible nature of the fact that every single shade in this line is in the brown to tan background family. And what is the benefit of that? Well, there's 2. The first benefit is that it tells us that it's more natural in the way in which it deposits. But the other benefit, guys, that is super cool is that it is up to 100% gray coverage in every single series. So we talked earlier about, you heard earlier about how you don't necessarily have to add, you don't have to actually, not even necessarily, you don't have to add an N or an NN into your formula to achieve that gray coverage. In fact, just to kind of give you guys an example, because I was thinking in my head, okay, a lot of times we have these clients who are seeking that gray coverage, but they want to be cool. And we get so fearful, right? When it comes to formulating on someone who already is lacking pigment in their hair. We don't want it to feel like a muddy deposit. But the beautiful thing about this line is that you could use 8P as a standalone if you wanted to achieve that gray coverage based off of course, percentage of gray. We have to always take these things into account, and we are going to be diving a little bit deeper into that. Okay, bowl or brush application. I'm so excited that Marcus is here. I cannot wait for you guys to see his segment, because Marcus and I, we were brainstorming before this because we thought we got to make this great for you guys. And, you know, he does his applications with a bottle. I'm a brush and bowl type of gal. It's always how I've been. So I'm going to be doing a demo for you guys this evening, showing you how to do this application with a bowl and a brush, but for a dimensional color service. So yes, you can use a bowl or a brush, or you can use a bottle for this service. If you are someone such as myself, now here's the thing to know. I transitioned from chromatics, like so many of you guys on the chat. I started using chromatics the day chromatics came out. That is, you know, I'm sort of aging myself in this moment, but I have been using chromatics for just as long as many of you guys. So it was, you know, scary to think about going in and having to relearn how to formulate and all of these pieces. But I was just so excited about the fact that it is a gel-like consistency, because I wonder if some of you guys were doing this. I was using, right, my cream-based color. I was going in and doing my gray coverage service, fully letting that process, shampooing that out, rough drying the hair, doing my highlights, shampooing that out, doing my zone toning. So it was eating away at my time. And, you know, for someone like myself, just as an example, I am someone who books one client at a time. And because I book one client at a time, I do have that luxury of, you know, being able to have time on my side. But so many of our, you know, stylists out there are double booking, or they want to make sure that they can get more quickly through a service. So again, a benefit of this is the consistency of the actual product. Developer. I saw someone ask this in the chat. So there's no designated developer. So as long as it's a cream peroxide developer, a Redken cream peroxide developer, you absolutely can use that. So a great benefit to it. Okay. So I want to talk to you about clear, because clear has become my absolute best friend. The job of clear, as we know in general, is to dilute the intensity, dilute the deposit. But clear and color gel oils can be used for multiple benefits. And that is something that I really didn't explore that much when I was previously using cream-based colors. And I think it was just almost something I didn't think about. Part of it is that for myself, I was concerned about it, you know, maybe not being hydrating enough, but knowing that there's the apricot oil in it, the additional shine. So the first thing to know is, and I am going to be showing you guys more of this young woman tonight, but this is done all with color gel oils on zone 1, melted into Shades EQ gloss on zone 2 and 3. On this side though, I did my color gel oils on zone 1, and then I melted into color gel oils clear on zone 2 and 3. And so the benefit of clear is you can actually use it to brighten the ends should you have someone who has pre-lightened hair already, as long as it is, you know, not compromised, of course. Of course, the benefit of the apricot oil is it's going to add hydration, it's going to add shine to the hair. But additionally, you know, for me, what I've found is I can get that little bit of bump, that little bit of lift that I might need should they have sort of yellowy ends, let's say, or like little orangey ends. And I don't have to think, okay, I have to put lightener on the hair. The other benefit of clear is if you have someone who wants to dip their toe into the world of color, let's say they're a level 6, they want something very natural, very sun-kissed, clear is going to be a great alternative to maybe having the fear of over lightening them, over lifting them. And I often have found myself doing clear with 20 volume and just going through and doing a foil application to get just a little bit of lift, which is great. So we'll be talking about this formula just in a bit. Okay, so we know that clear is going to also dilute. So keep in mind, should you put clear into your zone 1 formulation, guys, you may not achieve that, you won't achieve that same level of gray coverage that you may be seeking because it is diluting it. So make sure you're very aware of the why and the intention behind each of the choices that you're making. Here is something super cool. So if you don't already know this, and this makes me the happiest because it just does, because I'm a Shades EQ lover through and through. So anytime anything is 100% tonal match to Shades EQ, I just feel like the world is a better place. So what is very cool about this is that there is an NCH as an example in color gel oils, and there's an NCH in Shades EQ gloss. But I don't want you to get it twisted, because someone recently asked me this in the DMs the other day. They said, so I'm confused. Shades EQ Gloss is a gel liquid consistency and it's translucent. So wouldn't the same translucency apply to that of color gel oils? It's really about understanding, guys, what makes it less translucent, right? So the deal is Shades EQ Gloss, color gel oils. Yes, they're both this liquid gel consistency. Color gel oils is opaque. Shades EQ Gloss is more translucent. One is a demi, one is a permanent. So, you know, I talk a lot about toning intention when it comes to Shades EQ Gloss. What's your coverage intention when it comes to, you know, your color gel oils? Okay, now that we have sort of talked about these principles, last important thing to know is bing, 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 reflect color, my friends. Reflect color will absolutely just set you free, right? We were talking about reflect color earlier in regards to how long to let product process, right? You have to let all that color sort of come to the surface and do its part. So in color gel oils, series either have 1 or 2 reflect colors. If it has 2, the first color is going to be the strongest, the primary depositing color in the reflect. Reflect color, my friends, is going to tell us, is this shade that I selected going to be cool? Is it going to be warm? Or is it going to be neutral? One more slide, I promise, before we get into our demo, but this is very important. And I was so excited when I heard, you know, earlier talking about it depositing darker. And I see so many of your comments, and you're saying, you know, I'm feeling nervous about the depth of it. So what I wanted to do was kind of give you guys an example. So the example is this. I thought, all right, here's this mannequin head. I mean, we're talking like less than 10% gray, right? I don't know, 5% gray, 1% gray, I guess we could say. Maybe it's not even gray. It's just a couple little strands here and there that I, you know, was like, I think that's gray. And what I wanted to do was help to simplify the thought process here. As we now know, right? As we know, if someone's hair is gray, we're missing that pigment from the hair. When you are doing your formulation, if you have someone who is, let's say, 10% gray and 90% is pigment, it's a level 6, 90%, 10% is gray, it's missing pigment. And you formulate at a level 6 on that client to achieve maybe a tonal match to their natural base, or maybe just add a very soft, slight amount of depth, right? A very minimal amount of depth. Think of it as a blue piece of like construction paper, and you have a blue marker and you're just coloring on top of it. It's going to look darker. So you're putting pigment on top of pigment. I want to say again, if you are someone on here who is used to the way that I talk about Shades EQ, I want you to get that out of your head, because we're talking about, yes, the same consistency of product, but a completely different formulation of product. So it's interesting. We were talking about the idea of maybe just not having an NN in the formula, and just sort of sticking to an N. But I think that, you know, there's so many different ways that we can sort of, I hate to say experiment, but as we learn the line. So this formula, just so you guys can really, really see, and I'm sort of a little spotty on my camera, so I apologize if it is, I'm sort of holding it in a strange place. But my client is a natural level 6, right? We're saying less than 10% gray. The goal was to match the natural base or just add a soft amount of richness. The formula was color gel oils, 6 NW, 6 NCH, and 20 volume. And you can see the depth that it deposited, right? Okay. So zones 2 and 3. Now I'm hoping that this will translate for you guys on camera when we talk about sort of tonal match. So zones 2 and 3, I did Shades EQ gloss, but I did at the same exact level to show you why it's important to understand why formulating with this will be totally different. Because on zones 2 and 3, and hopefully you'll be able to see this, it's lighter, even though it's also the same formulation, which is 6 NCH, and then I made a 6 NW, right? I made a 6 NW with a 5 NW and a 7 NW. This processed for 30 minutes. 10 minutes into this, I applied my zone 2 and 3 so it could process for 20 minutes with Shades EQ gloss, okay? So let's say my intention was that I was like, oh, I didn't want all this depth. Well, a couple of things that you could do. You could add clear, right? But keep in mind, you may not get that same level of gray coverage that you may want. Clear will dilute the intensity. But the other thing is I've been formulating at around 1 level lighter than my desired end result, and it's been great. It's been perfect. What if my intention was to actually make this feel like a 5? Well, if I wanted this to be a 5, I would just formulate. So I formulated at a 6, I would formulate this at a level 5 in Shades EQ gloss. Why? This is an opaque color line, color gel oils. Shades EQ gloss is a translucent product line. Last thing with clear, there's so much to say. It's so exciting to tell you guys about all of this stuff. And I know it can feel really overwhelming. I just really urge you, reach out to me, DM me with any questions. My goal really is to help just make you guys feel more comfortable with this, okay? So let's talk about how cool clear is. Again, hoping this will translate. So I had 2 wefts here, right? This is our original weft. Let me kind of get these up so that you guys can really see. I'm sorry. This is our original weft. And this is the weft that I lightened with clear. So you see, it's a very it's a minimal sort of shift. But the reason I did this was because I actually had a client who, these are her extensions. She came in and she said to me, you know, I feel like I got this colored somewhere else. It's too dark. And so I said, well, let me use the clear and 20 volume to see if I could just sort of lift that color ever so slightly. So what's cool about it is this, write this down because this is very cool. You can ever so slightly lift the color. Let's say you make a little uh-oh, right? And you go too dark, just get back in there with your clear. Don't worry, you have your safety net of clear. But worst case, if you get color transfer, take some clear and 10 or 20 volume and put it right on that color transfer, and it's going to just lift it out. How cool is that? All right, let's get right into our demo, guys. And I want to just kind of check your questions really quickly. Let's see. Can you show the clear? I don't have a bottle of clear on me, but it looks just like this, and it says clear on it. So you can lift color treated hair without bleach, depending upon the situation. I will say these wefts are both demi. So obviously this one, my OG one, this is a demi permanent color that is on it. And then we all know Shades EQ is demi. So the experience I've had so far is with demi, and I had one experience with color gel oils where I was able to soften it as well. But again, this is based on, it's situational. I want to be clear about that. Okay, I want to get right into my demo because we have such great information to share with you guys. And I also want to make sure that we can get to the wonderful Marcus to just really help you guys to simplify other thoughts about using a bottle. So I do tons of dimensional color services. And the obstacle I shared with you earlier that I had oftentimes was there were so many steps involved in doing this dimensional color. And also too, on top of it, you know what was happening? I was, on those gray coverage clients, I would do, all right, let's say hypothetically, I would do 2 full colors a year, but in between they were coming in every 6 weeks for their gray coverage. And sometimes they would just want like a face frame. And because those appointments I couldn't book as long a period of time, I was saying to them, it's going to be a little warmer this time. because I'm almost sort of melting the lightener into that permanent color because I'm trying to do it all in one. And I just didn't want to have to struggle with that. I wanted to just make it feel a lot easier. So how much product should be on your brush? So the amount of color gel oils that you want to have in your brush is equivalent to dipping your brush in the bowl and just sort of tapping off both sides. So if you follow me with my Shades EQ education, I always say dip it and wipe off both sides. The difference is though, you want to get that saturation because you're doing great coverage. So I just want you to tap off both sides, okay? But I want you to see something. You see how it's not really dripping? So it's really cool. It has this no drip adhesion. So this is part of the reason, guys, that you can successfully color melt with this product, because it's going to make sure that it's not going to be super drippy. There's going to be less of a chance of getting color transfer, which I absolutely love. Where do we start our application? So I have always been by the rule of thumb that wherever the highest percentage of gray lives, that's where you want to start. So for the most of the time, I'm starting it sort of in that part line. And so let me sort of turn her so you guys can really see. We're going to pretend here that we just did maybe a full highlight on this client. And so now it's time for us to go in and do our toner application. And the other thing that's really cool is the processing times. Here's what's really neat about it. So if you use 10 volume developer, it only needs to process for 20 minutes. If you use 20 volume developer, it needs to process for 30. Now, those choices, guys, should be based off of, right, the natural base, the percentage of gray. But what I love, love, love about that is you can time it with your Shades EQ gloss. So let's say that you go in and you apply that zone 1, and then you can melt it right into your Shades EQ gloss, and that's sort of 20-minute processing time. It's, they work hand in hand with each other. So it just makes it really, really simple. If you are doing a service like this, as an example, right, where we're kind of doing this mix between a color melt and a traditional lived in, I tend to like to take vertical sections away from the face, okay? So I'm gonna be going in and I'm gonna be taking my vertical sections, holding this back with like a lot of tension. That's gonna be really important, right? And what I love about doing that, even when I'm, using Shades EQ, or if I'm using color gel oils in this case, is you can really see the foil line. It's going to allow you to see, okay, how much, how far past that foil line do I really want to extend this? And every time you do this, guys, I want you just to drop it. I don't want you to obscure it, obstruct it. I want you to just drop it and let it go. And I always joke around and say, if your client ever says, because you're continuing to push this hair forward, it's kind of annoying having hair in my face, I always just come around and I look them, I say, thank you so much for sharing. And then I just go back to doing what I want to do. So we're going to keep working our way. And I also want you to notice this. I'm using a wider brush. When you're doing these applications, I think a wider brush is going to be really important. It's going to be a big part of your success with this, especially because of the fact that you're trying to get coverage. That's what you're trying to do. When I do any lived in service, I tend to do that sort of money piece last, right? That's going to be the icing on the cake. So I really want to make sure that that's sort of the last area that I'm doing. So that actual front hairline money piece, I just want to show you guys really quickly. I'm going to leave that out completely, and I'm going to clip that off to the side. So we're painting, allow that to fall. Take your clip and isolate out that front hairline area. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. It's going to freak you out, but I want to be really clear. This is not me just saying this to say it. I can't reiterate enough. I am a working stylist behind the chair, so I need techniques to work because I don't want to mess up someone's hair. And also on top of it, I want to make sure that what I'm communicating and teaching you guys is something you can immediately take back to your salon and say, wow, that was scary, but it totally worked. Make sure you have a paddle brush, okay? So the idea is that you are going to now brush this through from root to mid to end. So when you're doing this, as freaked out as you're going to be, I want you to imagine me behind you going root to mid to end, root to mid to end. You're going to hold this with tension, okay? Hold this with tension. You're going to start at the top of the hair shaft, and you're going to go root to mid to end, root to mid to end, root to mid to end. Okay, make sure it's really nice and smooth. Let's get really close to the camera so you guys can see what's happening here. Do you see how there's like this little bit of emulsification? Don't freak out. Easy. Take a dry brush, okay? I just want you to wipe off that emulsification. Just wipe it off. Wipe off that emulsification. And notice what I'm doing. I'm not smudging with my finger. I'm not doing anything like that. I am just making sure that this is really nice and smooth, okay? All right. So now we're going to apply zones 2 and 3 with Shades EQ Gloss. I'm going to melt this permanent color directly into my Shades EQ Gloss, okay? So let's shake this up. And we're going to go in. And when I apply a zone 2 and 3, I like to actually start a little bit above where that sort of permanent color ends. And I'm going to fully saturate. Now, what's cool is I told you if you, worst case scenario, get any sort of color transfer, not to worry about it because, you know, you can use clear. But the other thing that's really cool is if you get color transfer, if you are immediately zone toning, right? Like we know that, you know, Redken Shades EQ Gloss is meant to be zone toned. I mean, to me, it's the same thing with color gel oils. You really want to make sure that you are immediately applying that zone 2 and 3. So I'm melting that right in. Should you get any color transfer, when you apply that zone 2 and 3 with your Shades EQ Gloss, it will just dissipate it immediately. All right, let's do our face frame. And then after that, I cannot wait for you guys to see what Marcus has in store for you. So really easy with our face frame. We want to go in and we want to tap that hairline. A little tip for you guys when formulating a front hairline for gray coverage. I personally have always done one level lighter in the front hairline than what's happening in my interior. And now that we've sort of tapped this, I'm going to go in, fully saturate, and then I'm just going to marry this front into my actual side. Try not to get any color on my client's face, so we'll just sort of wipe that off for her. And now I want you guys to see what this looks like. So I'll sort of take her off. So you can see we have this really nice melt where it goes from our color gel oils into our Shades EQ Gloss. If we have any emulsification, I want you to take a deep breath, just remove it, and just always think of me going root to mid to end, root to mid to end, root to mid to end. Okay, my friends, so what I would really love to do is I think we're going to have Sherry maybe pop back on because I know that we want to show you guys what Marcus has in store for you. And I hope that this helped to kind of give you a little bit of light bulb moments. All right, guys.
Thank you so much. Please, everybody, give some love to Adrienne in the chat. I know that there is some I was gonna try and be nicer than anxiety. I was gonna say some excitement over talking about how to use this with a bottle, as well as the transition, excuse me, from color gel, from chromatics to color gels oils. So don't worry, everybody, hang in there. We still have more. We're still together for a little bit more time. So you know, let's make sure that we give Marcus a little time because I think he has some hot tips on addressing this because he's seen a lot of these transitions out in the field. Is that right, Marcus?
It's my first day using Zoom. I had to take myself off of mute real fast.
Oh yeah, I know. L'Oreal, we're a teams thing. So Adrienne gave some great information, a great technique. I think we've got some people who have definitely commented that they're going to be using this technique. I do see a quick thing in here from Leslie saying that We did not discuss the oils technology. Maybe Marcus can hit on it. We did discuss it at the very beginning, and you will be able to see this repeat with Lindsay Menzer, who was at the beginning and talked about the oils technology. So we definitely want to make sure that you're covered with all of that. But for now, I just want to turn it over to you because I know you've been out there, you've been helping so many people to transition into
Yes.
new oils. You are like, you blow my mind with your knowledge and your passion for this. So let's just have you take it away, Marcus.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you everybody for being here tonight. It's such a pleasure to be able to share such a new and innovative product with you, such as the new Color Gels oils. And so what we mentioned before in the beginning of class is that we know that it's formulated with 2% apricot oil. So again, that's going ahead and leading to more conditioning, more manageability, and overall more shine as well. So again, you want to make sure you're using this on your gray hair clients, of course, but we want to make sure how we know how it lines up with chromatics as well. And so what we want to remember is that your Color Gels oils is the most opaque color that we have at Redken. And if you think of color fusion, it's the most multidimensional, and everything else falls in between. So if we think about the most saturated color, and we think about something that's a little bit more monochromatic, let me know in the chat, what would you do if you had something opaque and monochromatic? I know what I would do, but I want to hear from you all. What do you think you should do if you're going ahead and doing something like that? I know that sometimes when we're looking at something new, our eye is trained to look at a 7N, but what we know is that all 7Ns aren't created equally. And so what we want to remember is that sometimes we need to, instead of using our NN, we need to go over to our N. And sometimes if we're using something like N, we can always go over to NW. You said it, Julie. Oh, Julie. Yes, Julie said it. You know, we want to maybe go a shade lighter, or we want to maybe go over a tone lighter. So instead of using something like N, maybe you'll use something like NW to go ahead and get a result that you're looking for. Also, what we know with the Color Gels oils is that it's going to give superior conditioning. There's no ammonia, there's no smell, and there's minimal staining with this product as well, but it's also really easy to go ahead and apply this product. So what you saw was Adrienne applying the new Color Gels oils with a bowl and a brush. And what I want to show you here is what we've done with bottle application. So I know Cowboy Copper is real popping these days. And so what we've got here is my girl Janet. And what we did on Janet was we did on her zone 1, 7 cc in the Color Gels oils. And then on the mid shaft and ends, what we did is 07AA in your Shades EQ gloss. And so as you can see, she is nice and rich. She's got a nice, brilliant color, nice and vibrant. And we styled her with the acidic bonding concentrate leave-in treatment. And as you can see, those curls are Poppington. So great opportunity to talk to your client about that. And then also what we have here is something I really like doing. And this is our Color Gels oils on zone 1. Oh, where's your bang, baby? Our Color Gels oils 6RR on zone 1. And then what I did is I alternated sections when we went ahead and did our refresh. So I alternated sections of 06RR and 07cc, 06RR and 07cc to make sure that I got a nice dimensional result too. So a great way to go ahead and apply your new Color Gels oil. So again, get your mind thinking about things that you can go ahead and do with that. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you how we go ahead and apply our new Color Gels oils with a bottle application. Woo! You got to be careful up in here with these girls. These girls be popping off. Okay. So I'm going to bring my other girl, Janet, over here. And Janet has never had color before. Lucky her, and lucky me too, because I love somebody who never has color. And so now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and mix my Color Gels oils in equal parts with, you guessed it, team, processing solution. So I don't need to use an oil and cream developer. I don't need to use any processing solution. I'll only go ahead and use my with my Pro Oxide developer. I'm going to go ahead and use, let's use 6RR today because That's what she said she wanted. She said she wanted to be 6RR. So what I'm doing, and because, I have a lot of it, I'm just going to use a good amount. So I'm going to do 2 ounces of 6RR and 2 ounces of 20 volume peroxide. Hey, let me know in the chat, how many of you are bottle users? If you're a bottle user, go ahead and type yes in the chat. If you are not a bottle user, type not yet in the chat. Yes, awesome. Okay, she said both. I know that's right. Yeah, so here's what we want to remember when we're going ahead and using the new Color Gels oils with a bottle. If we're shaking it like this, that's not enough, and it'll definitely be a lot more looser. So again, when you're using this, go ahead and put your hand over the top of the nozzle, and then go ahead and give it a shake, like a shake weight. Remember those shake weights? If you're my age, then you remember watching the infomercial on shake weight. It really does help your muscles. And so we got a good shake there. We got it all nice and coagulated, feeling good. Now, what I like to do so I don't have a volcano afterward is I like to turn so that the air releases, and then I can go ahead and take my finger off, and then the rest of the product goes back down to the bottom. And just go ahead and give it a quick little knocking. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and start my application. So I got my girl here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip her down so you can see a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my first little bead right through that front hairline. Actually, let me tip her up because she's playing today. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, turn her a little bit so everybody can see. I'm going to make my first little bead on the top of the hair. And then I'm actually going to use the nozzle to go ahead and emulsify this into the hair. Could I go ahead and use my thumb? Absolutely, there's no problem with that. But we want to make sure that we're keeping our hands clean during this process. Again, I'm going to go ahead, and it's just a gentle squeeze, team. I don't need to go in all crazy with it and everything. I just want a nice, gentle squeeze. So as you can see, I'm going ahead, emulsifying or smudging in with the bottle. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead in, and as you can see also, I'm going ahead in and working on a textured guest or a guest that has curl in the hair. And so when we're thinking of somebody that has curl in the hair, I don't necessarily want to take a larger section. So your sectioning is very important too when you're using a bottle application. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're doing about a half an ounce, a quarter inch to a half inch of a section to make sure that you get the saturation, but also making sure that you get the coverage that you need when you are having a guest that will go ahead and need their gray covered. As you can see, I'm going ahead and holding the hair on the ends with my middle finger and my index finger. And the reason why I'm doing that is because if I use my thumb to go ahead and smudge in, what could happen is I can go ahead and grab the ends, and then I have a big problem. And I don't want a big problem. I want to get paid, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing things like that. Again, I'm already halfway through. And let me tell you, team, when you go ahead and do a bottle application with your Color Gels oils to cover gray, it really is a time saver. We've used 20 volume to go ahead and cover gray at Redken. And what we want to remember too is that the 20 volume has a 30-minute processing time. So essentially I could go ahead and cover gray in 30 minutes. And what I know is that I can go ahead and do a full head of a retouch application in 7 minutes. So if you're a little slower with the bottle, I recommend that you just try practicing real fast. Get a mannequin, get back to basics. We were all using liquid color back in the day. And so this is nothing different, team. We want to make sure that we're getting back to basics, but still staying in line with the principles that we all had in school. Awesome.
Very nice. Marcus, can you tell us what your first model's formula was again, please?
Yes, great. Thank you for that, Sherry. So the first model on her zone 1, we used 7cc in the new Color Gels oils. And then what we did on our mid-shaft and ends was 07AA, which is part of our new Copper Blonde series in Shades of Cute. It's just a really fun color to use. Everybody's down with that cowboy copper these days. And, it's really subjective. but we know it's copper. And what we also know too is that each and every shade will give you that brown to tan background tone. So again, great for anybody who is 100% gray, looking for that coverage. We know that we'll go ahead and get that with our new Color Gels oils. Now, if I were going back in and going to refresh this, if I wanted to keep it fun and exciting, maybe what I would do is go in with my 6RR Color Gels oils, or sorry, 6RR Shades EQ, and then maybe I would do 5RV in shade 05RV and Shades EQ and alternate those sections. And again, thinking about how that would look on somebody with curl is really exciting as well. So a great opportunity to use something new. Make sure when you are using something new that you're trying it with a different tool. You're making sure that when you are using these things, these are really, really tools that we've been using already. There's nothing to be afraid of. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, reach out to me, to Adrienne, to Sherry. We'll make sure that we get any questions that you have answered when you need them. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm so excited to use this.
Marcus, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere because we do have some questions and I would love for you to be able to bring the answers to everybody that is online here. First of all, great job. I think that it was sometimes hard to see your application, but essentially just verbally, can you tell us you are using the nozzle to spread the color throughout zone 1. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And so the nozzle is rather long, so you can go ahead and it sort of mimics a pinky too, right? So it keeps a lot of that with your hands clean, your thumb clean. You just go ahead and use that little nozzle there and you're good to go.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you for that, because that is exactly why it was made, was to be able to be in lieu of your little pinky, etc. We do have a lot of comments here. I know that the marketing team is on as well. So color charts, swatch charts. We used to call them litho charts that you can hang up in the back room. For those, Karen, one of the things, she says, I want the downloads aren't working for me. And what I sometimes do, because I totally understand, is I download them. I know it seems like a lot, but I download them on a little USB and I walk on over to Kinko's with my coffee and they will actually blow them up in a high resolution and laminate them for me. And, just whenever I feel like I need that visual, that's great. So let me see. I know that there were some great lots of thank yous. Somebody converted a client from chromatic 7NN to 8NN in color gels with 20 volume. She has 100% and it came out hollow. What would you add?
Great question. I love that question too, because it really just goes back to principles at the end of the day too. And because since we've been having updates in hair color, it's time we start talking to our clients about updates in actual hair care as well. So we know that our clients love 10 tons of dry shampoo. They love a good old color stick. They love coconut oil, mayonnaise, eggs, grits, whatever TikTok is saying, put in the hair, that's what they're putting in the hair, right? And so best practice, when we are doing any hair color or lightening service, we want to make sure that that hair is clean first and foremost, so that we can get the coverage or the lift that we need when we are going ahead and using any hair color products. Like I said, we've had updates to our technology. We have products that have low ammonia. We've had products that have no ammonia. And so we want to make sure that we're putting this on the cleanest palette. So again, it's a great opportunity to talk to your clients about hair cleansing cream, which is our clarifying shampoo at Redken, or you can charge them and do it in the shop. Either way, you win. So again, we want to talk to our clients about how we make this work for them. And I would definitely suggest that before any color or lightening service that we go ahead and clarify the hair anyway. Hopefully that was helpful.
It's always a good best practice anyway, right? And somebody earlier asked about somebody with sensitive skin, and anytime you use a new color line, we do suggest, I know it's sort of like wah, wah. And we did it back in school, but we do suggest a patch test. It's just like, you're putting something that has a chemical reaction on the head. So So definitely, if you've got somebody coming in and they are already sensitive, that would be great. So Nicole is asking, will color joy, I don't know what's wrong with me today. Will color gels, oils lift outside of clear as well, or is it primarily deposit only?
Oh, great question. Yes, the short answer is yes. You can get up to 4 levels of lift with your color gels, oils, but we have to make sure that we're aware of our principles of formulation as well. So again, our principles of formulation say, what's the hair starting level, desired level, undertone at the desired level, and if any, the percentage of gray. And so once we gather that information, we can go ahead and formulate in any line. So when people ask me, oh, I used this and it turned out too hot, or oh, I thought this was too warm, my first question always is, what was the hair starting level and what percentage of gray was it? And then we're always stumped. We're like, 5 or 6, right? And so we have to be clear on what level that is, because there's a big difference between 5 or 6. And if you use 30 or 20 volume, there could be a difference in your end result as well. So yes, we can get up to 4 levels of lift, but again, we want to make sure that our principles of formulation are being followed to make sure that we get the right results.
Excellent. And speaking of the different volumes of developer, can you share the processing time with everyone?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm so excited about this. So 10 volume is a 20-minute processing time. 20 volume is 30 minutes. 30 volume is 40 minutes. And then 40 volume is a 45-minute processing time. No heat.
Right. So we've got a
Please.
lot in here about the color processing and looking green. And if you just joined, I just want to repeat something that Lindsay Menzer, who's our scientist who worked on color gels, oils, said. She joined us earlier today, and I also had the pleasure of being with her in Myrtle Beach recently, and she talked about dyes and how so she talked about dyes being like, people who come to a party. Some of them, they're there immediately when the party starts. Some come midway through, and some come at the very end. And dyes are like that as well. So for example, the example she used, and I'm going to use one from Shades EQ, is 09VV. So how many of you have ever, worked really hard to lift your client up really light, and then you put 09VV on and you see that it's blue and you start to freak out and probably say all sorts of things in the back room, sweating and feeling a little like, what am I going to do? And then you take it off and you wonder why the hair is too cool or too blue. And so the way that she explained it is that blue dye is the one that shows up to the party on time. It's there, it starts working really fast. But the violet and the other dyes that kind of counteract the blue, they come later to the party. And so when we talk about Shades EQ or any of our other color lines having a specific processing time, it's because the dyes take that long to process, and they all process at different times. So I thought that was really brilliant, and I liked the way I liked the way that she shared that. Let's see. So Kelly is asking, she has 75% gray and has been using oils, and her top gets great coverage, but the sides take black. Any advice? Oh, this is good.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a little bit of a buildup there. So again, that's a great opportunity just to make sure that you're going ahead and using hair cleansing cream. And hair cleansing cream just isn't from anything that we put on the hair. Remember, we got clients that are coming straight from the gym, talk about, oh yeah, I just came from the gym, it's just wet. I'm just like, girl, you gonna clarify this hair, right? So again, any sort of buildup like that, we want to make sure that we're getting off of the hair. We're sweating a lot in our front hairline, a lot in the sides, and in that nape area. And so if you've ever seen when you process with any color line, maybe sometimes in that back area, you see a hollow line. That's where everything is collecting too. So you want to make sure that if people have been to the gym, if people have been, again, putting any sort of outside agent on their hair, that you go ahead and clarify that off to make sure that you get the best possible coverage.
Oh, I've been doing my color so long, I think I feel the need to do a clarifying treatment. You've just
Me too.
Mark. I love you. Lots of tips are coming out very soon. Stay tuned. So this is a great one. Did I hear that you can get gray coverage with 10 volume in 10 minutes and 20 volume in 20 minutes?
Yeah, I love the internet. The internet is awesome. So here's the deal. With great coverage at Redken, we always recommend 20 volume to make sure that you get a predictable result with predictable coverage every single time. Can you get coverage with 10 volume? Sure. Is it predictable? No. And so to make sure that we're staying on track and making sure that we're giving our clients predictable results, we always recommend 20 volume. And again, team, we want to remember there's a big difference between gray hair, salt and pepper hair, and white hair. Okay, so you just have to remember the percentage of that and what you're putting it on, right? If you're painting a white wall, it's going to look different on a gray wall than if it's on a white wall. So just remember when you're using these colors to principles. It all goes back to principles. The vets on this call, they know what's up. They know about principles. They know about this bottle. But it's our new generation that we want to make sure that you are equipped to be able to use these principles as well.
Yeah, there's a couple questions in here about damp hair. We always suggest that you apply hair color on dry hair. And
Yes.
Lindsay, at a different event that we were at, had a great explanation. Hair has porosity. It's like a dry sponge. If you have wet hair, then that wet hair will dilute your results. And considering that you're mostly using color gels oils to either have that great vibrancy like Marcus has shown you, or to have the great coverage, I definitely would suggest on dry hair, and we suggest on dry hair. It seems like there's a little bit of, so Melinda, I see that you've got a few clients you said that did not 100% cover. In the essence of time, I'm going to ask you to please follow Marcus and to give him your form. Sorry, Marcus.
No,
Give him because he can help you to make sure he can dive a little deeper into your formulation. And so I think somebody said Christine's question. So I think that we've got that covered as it relates to the wet hair. Jocelyn is saying that I've used colored gels and clients leave with full coverage, but on their next visit, they come back in with faded translucent coverage. Again, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and pop a DM into Marcus because he'll be able to get you a little bit more, dive a little bit deeper into the answers here. Okay, this is great because we have Selena DeLuca. Selena is our head of hair color for marketing. And she says, hi all, charts. Downloads are available online, but we will send more charts into stores and to your salon business partners if you have one. Swatch books should be in your store for you to review while shopping. If you want one for yourself, they are also available to order on saloncentric.com and on Level Loyalty. And I did see somebody earlier say that they have gotten, that they just ordered one. So that's great. So we see a lot of questions here. We ourselves are going to go back and go through all of these questions and make sure that when we ensure that you have the access to this video, that you also have your questions answered there, because there's 75 of them and we want to make sure that they're all absolutely answered, and make sure that you have your answers. Again, you can always go to Adrienne, you can always go to me, and you can always go to Marcus, and we will 1000% be here for you to make sure that you are having the success that you deserve to have behind the chair. And also it's scary, right? It's scary to try new color lines. So we want to make sure that, you know, we try to take away that fear for you. So one more time, please, everybody give it up for Marcus, and just loving your sparkles, Marcus.
You, Sherry. Have a good one.
Okay. So I am now going to, there's one question in here, which is, how do we DM questions? If you have Instagram, we'll make sure that our Instagrams are put up. If somebody can handle that in the chat for me really quickly, the three of our Instagrams, because I do want to pop over and talk about business building and moving from chromatics with Adrienne. Adrienne, thank you so much for joining us back here. Really great technique that you shared with everybody earlier. And I think that they feel more excited to be able to use this in such a different way like you did. So I am going to ask you, when you first started formulating from chromatics to color gels, listen, we're all human. We have good things that worked for us, and sometimes we had like, oh, that didn't quite work though. I'm going to give you an extra conditioning treatment today for free. This is for your birthday.
This is for your birthday.
Oh, Shades EQ to the rescue. So can you please help everyone understand, like, what were some of the things that were difficult for you and how did you overcome them?
Well, the first was definitely understanding that the N and the NN were not necessary. So the very first client that I used it on, I made them way too dark. And I also kind of just dove into it, as I tend to do. I'm sure there's colorists out there that are like, you know what? Let me just sort of put this all together and see what happens. And that was a really great lesson. Definitely really pushed me into making sure I understood the principles a lot more. But, in that case, what was great about it is, for myself, it was such a great learning experience. And also, too, on top of it, the one thing that I will say that has been an awesome addition for me is the new shades that have been added, because I did actually want to share the formula of this lovely lady, because since you guys have come out with the IG series, I've started adding that aggressively into a lot of my formulas. And I just want everyone to understand that's why Reflect is so incredibly important as well, because if you want to get reflection to your color besides the apricot oil, having that, the IG has violet and gold, having that gold secondary is just going to add such beautiful, rich hues to the hair. So really, not to go off subject, but the biggest thing that I have learned from it was being more conscious of the fact that you don't have to put an N and an N into the line, and be very conscious of your reflect colors, really understand those.
Excellent. And then I think you said it earlier, and Marcus hit on it as well, which is knowing your percentage of gray and the actual starting level. I was thinking that I use this example ABC, what's already on the head, B, what you're bringing to the party. There's a lot of party examples here, and which equals C, which is your color result. Now we have ABC, of course, as our wonderful take home product and use at the back bar. But I think I know that as time went on, I would get comfortable and sometimes take for granted that I needed to really, pay attention to that starting level and the percentage of gray, especially with a line that's made for grays. We do have some questions on when the new shades are available. I know that Connor and Selena are both in the chat here, so you can let everybody know when our new colors are being offered. And because we start talking about them so far away, so, and you too, you get them to try that. Sometimes like, when do those haven't launched yet? I don't even understand. So Adrienne, what have been some ways that you've been able to build your business using color gels oils?
I mean, the largest thing for me was eliminating the additional steps, because there's not a whole lot of options out there when it comes to having a permanent color that you could efficiently color melt and not get this mess of color transfer. So I will tell you what's been very cool for me is, I have a wide range of clientele. I've been doing hair for 14 years. I have an older clientele, I have a younger clientele. And what has been really cool since I started using color gel oils is a lot of my younger clientele's moms who didn't necessarily want to sit in my chair for 6-7 hours while I did a million different steps are willing to come in now, because it can be a much more efficient, quicker process. And I really think it's the time that is the most amazing thing about it for me. It's the elimination of this step that was sort of eating away at my time.
Nice. Very good. I love that. So it saves you time, which means you can do more, which means there's more money. I think that there's a couple questions in here as it relates to formulation and why we wouldn't just name these a level lighter. The name of the product, let's call it 5NN for lack of a better shade coming to mind. That means the end result will be a 5, right? So when you have, here's Connor, thank you, Connor. So when you have a 5NN, because of the double brown, it's already going to deposit darker. If you don't have a lot of white hair, then it's going to look darker. Am I making sense?
I think you are.
All crazy, but yeah, it seems much more complicated. So we're not trying to make it complicated. We're trying to give you a line that's 100% gray coverage without you having to mix a lot in the back, which is why we've added a double in. But I think one of the things that Adrienne is amazing at, one of the things, is being able to break down the shades and tell you why you should use them and why you should pay attention to the background and the tone. So if you have not already, if you're not already following her on Instagram, if you're not already signed up to some of her education that she offers outside, of course, the Redken education that you can get, then please make sure you're doing it, because she does a very, very good job at that. Is there any other business building tools that you would, or business building tips that you would share with everybody?
I mean, I think when it comes to anytime you're doing a color service, just make sure you're super transparent with your clients about, okay, if this is your desired end result, this is the amount of time that this service is going to take me. I oftentimes get DMs from clients, or excuse me, from stylists saying, here's what my client wants to achieve. And if it's not necessarily, realistic, we need to let them know, or let them know this may take several appointments. And not to go off course, but I do just want to add, because I see in the chat, I know there's a lot of fear when, you are trying something new, but I want you guys to remember how you felt when you first started using, chromatics, or how you felt when you first started using Shades EQ. I'm right there with you, but you just have to give yourself time to become an expert in that line. And just like Marcus, you guys can DM me anytime. I really, really am here solely because I want to help you to feel more comfortable with oils.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Adrienne. And so for everybody that's listening and everybody that has gotten here, yes, the fear is real, but we're here to help you through it. This is not the last time we're going to be talking about our products. Please know that we are starting something next year, where we're twice a month we will have virtual or live streaming master classes, as well as product knowledge classes, kind of like what we've got going on here, where we have someone like Adrienne, if not Adrienne herself, I can't always get her, darn it, but with not Adrienne herself, as well as our scientists, to really try to help answer a lot of these questions that you have. So we will do that, as I said, twice a month, in addition to all of the other education that you've got. And if you didn't hear it when we first started, we will be having Redken Symposium on tour in Nashville, aka Nash Vegas, I hear it's called, June 23rd and 24th. So we are just a couple minutes outside of our time. I just want to thank again all of our panelists who are with us today: Lindsay, Adrienne, and Marcus, and of course, all of you for taking your time on this Monday night to be able to join us. And yes, we will definitely, Nicole, get to all of your questions here in the chat, and know that you can DM on Instagram either myself, Marcus, or Adrienne anytime, and we'll make sure that you get the answers that you need. So, at Redken, we do have this thing that we do, which is to celebrate all wins. And I recently decided that celebration is my love language. So if you wouldn't mind doing it with me, go ahead, and at least our panelists, if you could put your hand in. Lindsay's got some family, so she went off and she is taking care of them. But let's do, for everyone that's joining, a Color Gels Oils on the count of 3. And again, thank you so much for joining us. 1, 2, 3. Color gels, oils. For anyone that is here because of CE questions or CE units, please make sure, I'm going to turn this down a little bit so that you can make sure that you hear me. You must be present for the entire class. Your attendance time is noted, and we will issue automatically your CE units to anyone who qualified and who has qualifying states. So this is determined by registration information you submitted. Please note, not all states allow CE for this event. Any questions, please email us at ce@support.l'orealusa.com.